if you enjoyed the game Peaks of Yore and really want to go for an 100% completion of the game, there is one big challenge that awaits you, even bigger than Living Legend, Avian Chaos. For those of you who are not aware, there is a mode that is unlocked after beating the game called Wally Mode, and that is hidden behind my webcam, but right around here, there's a little bird icon. Once you click that icon, whenever you go into the game, you will see Wally, or the seagull, sitting at your window pecking at you. And this makes it where whenever you are in a map, Wally is constantly following you, and that includes every map, including the final map, Solemn Tempest. So, whenever you're on a rock, he will come in and swoop and hit your hands. Now, once you beat every map with Wally, including Solemn Tempest, you unlock Avian Chaos, which is kind of like Wally mode, but with two birds. So, in this video, I'll be going over some general strategies on how to best avoid both birds, as well as map-specific strategies, the main two being Eldenhorn and Solemn Tempest, to best avoid the birds. Again, this is not a guide on 100% beating Avian Chaos every single time, because this mode does have a couple elements of RNG. That's what makes this achievement so hard at some point. Sometimes you are going to fall a lot, and sometimes it's going to be due to reasons that you think is unfair or stupid. That's just how this mode is. But the rewards are well worth it. Not only these two little bird statues, but these wings that allow you to basically fly over every mountain. So I'm going to get into some basic strategies on how to avoid the birds in general. And then after that, we'll go into a couple maps from each book and just talk about different strategies for each one. I will not go into every single peak and strategies for every single peak. I do have a video which I will put in the description on doing the full run. If I don't cover it in here, it's most likely because as long as you know the general speed rank strategies, you should be able to get through most of the levels pretty handedly once you try it a couple times. And again, these are not the 100% best ways to do it. These are the ways that I've found. If you have ways that are better, feel free to use those, or if you've seen other people post about them, feel free to use those. This is just an overall encompassing guide to that. So that way people who are, it's a little daunting to get into this achievement, so this can give some people some ease having all the knowledge that I've collected for this run in, 30, 40 minutes or so. We'll see how long the video is. So, without further ado, I'll get into the basics now. Alright, so I've loaded into the map Ymir's Shadow. We have both birds activated now. There are a couple basic strategies on what you're going to want to do. Now first, obviously, is spend as little time on holds as possible. Even for holds that you're not able to crampon off of, this is very crucial because the longer you spend on a hold, the more time the birds have to aggro you. Now, if you're not sure about speed rank techniques in the first place, I would go watch my movement guides. Some of the info is outdated, I'm well aware, but again, with how many patches the game has gone through in the past, I don't feel like making another movement video just because it's kind of annoying having to make 3 videos over the same thing. So, I would watch speedruns, I would watch my previous speedruns, other people's speedruns, as well as some of the things from my movement guide on how to best maximize your crampons. And again, joining the Peaks of Yore Discord and asking questions is another great way to learn those tricks as well. But again, this information is with a grain of salt that you understand the basic techniques of speedrunning the game in general. Best advice is learn how to use your crampons, because you want to spend as little time as possible on a hold. This also means finding terrain you can stand on, because the less time you're on a hold, the better. Another great way to avoid birds is utilizing your crampons while you're falling. So if I'm holding onto this, even if my hands get pecked, I crampon as soon as I'm falling, and I can grab right back onto that hold. But that's why I have to make some map-specific areas, because you aren't able to do this on maps like Eldenhorn and parts of Solemn Tempest. So that's why having good strategies is also a very, very important thing to have. There's another where you can kind of spread out your hands on each hold, but on this mode, since there's 2 birds, you can get unlucky sometimes and have both birds attack, and you fall because of that. So I wouldn't rely on using both hands like that. I think the best thing you can do is obviously spend less time, and second, if you do get hit off of a hold, crampon to recover. Now, as far as the birds themselves and their squawking mechanics, so they squawk once before they're about to hit you. If you keep on going before they've hit you, let's say you're swinging on ST through the icicle area, and they haven't hit you for a while, they will stop squawking, but they will still be aggroed onto your hands. So they will appear to hit you out of the blue, but in reality you've just gone too fast for them to stop squawking. Like, I haven't gone too far, so he's going to squawk again, but I can reset using crampons. But the farther I go, the less often he's going to squawk, and eventually he'll become totally silent. So one big thing about this mode is making sure you are paying full attention to the sound cues and whether or not that bird has tried to attack you or not. Because if you forget, you will get randomly pecked. Like, he's still aggroed onto me most likely. No, he wasn't. And again, that's why you just have to be conscious of, I potentially have a bird coming right for me. So instead of, let's say I have him on me, if he'll go aggro on me. Oh. For example, if he's aggroed on me and I'm going on this hold, I'm going to immediately get ready to recover if he pecks my hands and grab on. Now, another way to prevent them hitting you in the first place, if you hear them squawking, just do a crampon jump, and you'll avoid them from hitting your hand. You just want to be off the rock whenever they're about to hit you, so that way you can keep on resetting. So, just to get used to the timing, I would go into a map like Ymir's or any map that has a big runway and just practice avoiding whenever you hear the sound cues, and then you can keep on going. So you can definitely take your time with this this mode. I just wouldn't recommend it, because if you fall after taking longer on a map, it's going to be a lot more demoralizing. Like there, I got my hands pecked, but you just have to kind of know what you're looking for, but unfortunately I don't, but I was able to recover. So it just takes a lot of time of getting used to the maps, knowing where your fall recovery spots are, and hoping you don't get pecked at unoptimal times, and just playing smart. So that's pretty much it for the general tips. I'll go into a couple maps in each book, and then talk about the maps that gave me specifically quite a bit of trouble. So for Old Grove Skelv, you always want to start any runoff by completing Old Grove Skelv, so that way you can unlock crampons for the rest of the game. This is actually one of the harder levels, because this is the only map you don't have crampons on. So I'm going to just do a full run of it, just so you can kind of see my route. If you want to make any adjustments to it, feel free. You will die a lot here. It will be annoying the first couple dozen times. Even on my final attempts, I still died quite often on this. So this one's just annoying. So I'll do a quick run through of it. May see a cut here, because it will probably take me a couple tries, but I'll show you the kind of general routing that I do for it. So Ugsome Storr. The first beginning of the map, to be honest, I haven't really routed out completely on which holds to grab exactly onto. Again, as long as you know basic speedrun setups and optimal cramponing. The beginning of this map isn't bad at all, or shouldn't be. I think I've maybe fallen 1 or 2 times and lost a run on this map due to the boulders. But there's a lot of holes that you can quickly grab onto from the previous ones. The birds don't really have a whole lot of time to get onto you. Again, these beginning maps are kind of have the same trend. And again, you can just save yourself with crampons here. I like to do a wall run off this top part, so that way I can get directly here. Now, you can go the normal route. I prefer to go up here. And the reason for that is, again, the birds are chilling next to me. Crampon jump on top of these rocks. We want to eventually get to this one right here. Once we do, You can stand on top of here, ignore the time trial thing, because that's not what we're aiming for. And then we can grab straight onto the last hold and avoid all those other holds before. That's this map. So you can go the normal route and go all the way along the edge of this last part here and go all the way around. I prefer to take that shortcut straight up on top of the rocks because again, you're standing on the rocks avoiding the birds as much as possible. So it takes a lot of the stress out of it. Even though if you fall past here, the water stops you. It gets annoying, you get frustrated, you make a mistake at the beginning part, get hit by a boulder, you die. So that's Ugsome Storr. So for Wuthering Crest, you're actually going to want to make use of your the effects of your crampons for sticking into walls, since as long as you're stuck into a wall, wind can't hit you. Doesn't affect you, but please be careful with the birds because it takes a little bit for the crampons to get set up in the wall. So if you're trying to get set up, birds peck your hands, wind kicks in as soon as they do, and you're dead. So find a hold with a couple other holds nearby. But with this route, it's pretty consistent on finding a hold like that, so I'll show you what it is. So now I can just chill here for a bit. I'm not sure when the wind's coming because I was talking during that time, but there's the wind. I can just chill. I was like, wind's gone, I can continue. If I'm good, I should be able to make it to the very end before the next wind cycle. I know I have the birds on me, so I quickly keep on going. So there's only one climb in the bouldering section that I believe is actually a problem for Avian Chaos mode, and that's Leaning Spire. This is the only map that you have real danger of ending the run on, so I recommend doing this one the very first bouldering climb. As soon as you get here, get this one out of the way. The reason for this, so you have two strategies. Once you get to this hold here, you can fling upwards and over, get directly onto it. I've actually lost a couple of runs by not having enough momentum and going for it, so you can either try that route, which I'll show both of these routes, go up, or go the traditional route, go to here, but once you get here, going up top and being done with it. So I'll show both those runs, and you can kind of see the pros and cons of each one from doing it. So that's going over top. It's mainly about building up the momentum either from the previous non-slippery rock or this slippery rock right there. So that's one strategy you can do, and then I'll show you the other strategy. The main issue with this one is, again, if you don't have enough momentum going into it, typically it's hard to re-grab onto this rock or the slippery rock because you're trying to go up this way. So if you miss it, high chance that you fall, and that height will kill you. It's happened to me before. So I'll show the other route. So the problem with this route is that whenever you get onto this hold, I've had times where I'm jumping from either this rock or this rock right here, and I'm grabbing onto here, and as soon as I hit here, a bird's aggroed on me from the previous rock, and I get my hands instantly pecked. So there is a chance that you get your hands instantly pecked depending on when you leave the hold, but if not, then you pretty much have it in the bag. So those are the two different strategies to utilize it. Play around with it, see which one you prefer more, and do this one first on bouldering. So on Walker's Pillar, it's a pretty straightforward climb. The only area, the reason why I'm making a part dedicated to Walker's Pillar is this part right here. These little tree branches right here, and then the lead up the side of the mountain. It is pretty sketch whenever you have two birds on you, and if you try and do the Tarzan swing, which is jumping from up here down onto this branch and immediately swinging up. I've died quite a few times on this part trying to go from this branch up, because if you miss this branch you're dead. If the birds are aggroed onto you and you're not quick enough, they peck your hands and you die. There's not a lot of parts you can cramp on off of. It's just a very sketchy sort of jump. So I'm going to show you what I do it for to completely bypass this part. We'll take a little bit of practice getting used to, but I highly recommend it. So I'll show you that real quick. So I placed up a routing flag so that I can kind of give you an idea of what it's like getting up to there, as well as actually executing the jump. It's not too far from the top. I already had a bird hitting me. You're going to look for the hold with a bunch of nails sticking around near the top before going into that part. You get a few good momentum jumps. And once you get enough momentum, you swing off of there, around, crampon off this side, and you're all the way on the other side, completely skipping the part underneath, which is the branch part. I really like this skip. I'll show you why. So ideally, or not ideally, but the strat that I would do before the Tarzan jump is going from this rock here and then grabbing onto this tree branch, swinging up, and either grabbing onto this hold here or grabbing onto this slippery rock. If you have a bird aggroed onto you, it's pretty risky. You don't really have a lot of holds underneath you, not a lot of cramponable areas, so and for that reason I like to use the first skip that I showed you. And once you get past there, it's pretty straightforward. Again, spend as little time on the rocks as you can, and you're up. So that's walkers. Next, I'm going to go over St. Haelga's. I know I've skipped Eldenhorn. I'm going to save that for one of the last peaks, just because I think it's honestly up almost as hard as ST, just because of how many places you can fall. As far as St. Haelga, the beginning and the end really isn't that bad at all. It's a pretty straightforward mountain. You can save yourself a lot with crampons, as I discussed in the beginning. I'm going to show you the part that's the worst, which is the nose, which I'm sure everyone who's played St. Haelga knows is the worst part. So there are two routes you can go. There's the speedrun route that I use, where you completely avoid all these holds over here by skipping around and going over. That's why I use my Avian Chaos full completion video. Or you can go this route. I don't like this route. It's technically maybe a little bit safer because you can reset on one of the rocks, slippery rocks down there, and it's less chance you'll die. But man, it is not fun doing an area like this with two birds on you, because of how there's a rock completely above you, so the birds kind of get stuck right next to your hands, and it's really scary because they're really close to you all the time. So the setup that I found to be most consistent for it, again, I would practice this part a lot until you're comfortable with it, very comfortable with it. Do it 5 out of 5 times. And that allows you to keep on going without having the birds aggro onto you. Again, if you're going fast enough, like the birds still aren't aggroed onto me. And then you're through that part, and you're done. Now, what happens if you, let's say you don't have the most momentum, and you're going here, and you go for the jump, and you're like, oh, I don't think I'm going to make it. Just try and go back for that rock with the nails in it. You have to bail out pretty early for it. If not, you can fall. Here, I'll show you. Let's say that you go for an attempt, but let's say you don't have enough momentum, you miss the crampon, you're like, oh shoot. You grab onto either this rock, or one of these rocks down below, but those are harder to hit. And again, you may find that going this route feels better for you. You don't want to have to do this big risky jump up here. Again, this is just a guide on what I did. So that's the skip. That's what I did for St. Haelga. If you prefer going this way, let me know how you did it. I know there's a skip that you can go from around this rock and go directly to the end here. Again, I'm just not a big fan of it. So that's St. Haelga. So for Ymir's, the only area that really gave me a bit of a headache was the very end right here, which is once you get past this curve you go up, and then the final stretch is right above me. This area right here is pretty spooky, and the reason for that is once you get to around this part up there, all the holds are pretty linear above you. And so if you get pecked here, like especially here, if you get a little more unlucky, then you can just get your hands instantly pecked. So you can kind of do the way I did, just play normally and hope you don't get pecked. Hopefully the birds are nice to you. The route that I did was swinging directly onto this boulder right, this one right here. So this is the frame of reference for it, is that one right there in the middle, right on the edge. Swing directly onto that one. Once you get here, you'll go here, wall jump, and grab onto this one directly, which lets you go straight past all those holds that are directly above your head. Again, it is pretty spooky sometimes, because if you miss that jump or you bump your head, you do have to reset. The reset isn't too bad as long as you know where to look. So let's say I'm going for it. Oh, this is scary. I'm bumping my head. This big gravel rock right here is very consistent on trying to re-grab onto. It's like, ah! And you got a big old slab to grab onto, and now you reset. So that's what I do. That's the reset. We'll see if we can get it again. If not, then maybe you'll see a real fail attempt. Yep. So I hit my head, I'm like, oh no, and I'm able to grab back on. So, an easy reset. It's a little bit spookier of a setup sometimes, depending on if you hit your head, but you can get it pretty consistently. As far as the other parts of this map, again, I would watch a speedrun this map, use those kind of holds. It turns Ymir's into from Avian Chaos into basically a free solo attempt. Just because of the amount of areas you're skipping due to those, jumps. So that is Ymir's. Now we're going to get on to Eldenhorn, the most fun map of this entire run. I think I spent the most time practicing Eldenhorn, specifically for Avian Chaos. Obviously, I've spent a lot of time in ST, but Eldenhorn was a big time sink on trying to find more consistent strategies. But again, they're not 100% consistent. So Eldenhorn, you are going to have to play like a fundamental god on this map. Pretty much past the beginning area, it all relies on getting used to letting go, grabbing quickly on holds to try and avoid the birds, because past this part, once you get to around the midway section, there's nowhere you can crampon off of. I'll show you the spots that I do crampon off of to try and make it a little less obnoxious. But man, this is an obnoxious map. You will fall the most here. I almost guarantee it. If you're not comfortable on ST, you might fall there more. This map will kill so many runs. It killed the most for me. So, there will probably be quite a few cuts in this just because of how many different areas there are and showing the most optimal way that I've played it. There are speedrun strats where you completely jump off these crazy angles onto walls. I'd recommend Zero's video on that. But it's very risky, and Avian Chaos with that much risk is certainly a recipe for death. So I'll show you kind of each section of the mountain and what I did for it. For this beginning part, it's kind of however you want to play it. You can try and do the skip where you go from here all the way up the side. Again, it seems risky to me, so I just would end up going this sort of route, swinging off here, and then making your way over up here. So this is kind of what I did. If you miss, you can grab onto this crumbling hold right here, and you're fine. Alright, let me place a flag. So with this part, this is where the real Monka-esque part begins. So the key to this area is momentum. Once you get to a rock, either this one or the one ahead, you swing directly onto this edge rock right here. Do not go for any other rock besides this one. If you do, you're most likely going to die trying to go for this. So practice hitting that rock right there. And once you do, you're going to be going for this slippery rock right here. Now again, the birds will be constantly attacking you, so you have to be ready to either bail from the situation if one's chasing you, or get ready to start dodging as soon as you get to the next hold. So once you're on this slippery rock, this is where the real part of Eldenhorn begins. You're going to want to grab from this slippery rock onto this tiny little rock right here, and crampon jump behind you, go for this rock with the nails. And then once you hit the rock with the nails, you'll have more momentum to be able to go for one of these rocks right here. The reason why I'm going for this rock pattern is because if you fall, let's say, you have one or two backup rocks to help you save yourself. And again, this is where you practice your timing. You hear them coming, you let go, you re-grab. You're waiting, let go, re-grab. Once you're here, the next place you want to go is this rock in the middle. You can crampon jump off of here directly up to this part. Hope the birds don't peck your hands right here. You grab onto this rock up here. This is another cramponable rock. If you swing off to the side, and that's why you don't do that. And then you die. So a full run looks like this. And now I know I have the bird on me. Go up here. Careful we don't get our hands pecked. Grab onto here. Just start playing real fundamentals. Go up here, crampon. Once we get to here, another crampon. Grab along the side of this wall until you reach here. I personally like to go for this crumbling rock right there and swing on top of here. Buys you a little safety time. You can wipe the sweat off your hands. Get all ready. Once you're here, there's quite a few cramponable areas. What I ended up doing was cramponing onto this one, going from here, and going straight for this side. Now once you're here, be very, very careful, because if you get your hands pecked, you're most likely to fall all the way down, because this rock is at a steep angle. So I'll place a flag here. And I'll show you kind of how. So you get your hands pecked. Can't really lean forward and grab any of the holds underneath you. It looks really safe, doesn't it? It's like, oh wow, how do you fall there whenever you have like 50 holds? Well, they're all a little more in, and you can't reach it. I probably lost 5 or 6 runs at those few holds because of that, which ends up being, 2 hours of your time. Not fun. So be very, very vigilant at this part right here up until this hold. Once you get to that hold with the nails with it, there's a lot of places you can cramp on off of. So again, you can kind of save yourself if your hands get pecked like that. But again, you want to be making sure that you're practicing letting go, re-grabbing. I now have them on me, and I save myself. You keep on going. So once you get to this part, the hold you'll be going for is this one right here that I'm on currently. Kinda in the crack right there. The reason for it is it's cramponable. Crampon, go up here. Very sketchy part up here as well. Again, you want to just be practicing letting go and grabbing back on. And if not, that's what can happen. You miss a hold, you fall straight down, you're dead. It's just difficult. There's no easy way to get around it. Probably my least favorite map in this run. So you're making your way up. Be careful about the holds that crumble. Once you get here, what you're going to want to do is go directly to this hold here by swinging up and then cramponing once you're mid-air. You're not going to be able to crampon off the part I was at directly. You can't go from here, crampon. You have to swing mid-swing, then you crampon, get up here. Crampon off this jump, and get directly onto this hold. Then you crampon off of here, and hope you don't get pecked. Alright. So let go, grab on. You have to play this part normally. For the next little while, you just have to try and spend as little time on the holds, hit the birds, and just play well. There's no hidden trick here. So once you get to around this hold, that's when you can cramp on the rest of the way up, and you've basically done it. And that's Eldenhorn. A lot of areas you can fall. I spent the most time on this map practicing, getting as much of it figured out as I can. And that's what I came up with for the whole map. Probably by the end I can do this map 40% of the time, 50% of the time maybe. That's why I recommend once you get to the advanced books, do Eldenhorn first. You're not going to have your 10-point crampons, but a lot of the jumps you don't need. Actually, all the jumps I showed you, you do not need 10-point crampons to make work or make a lot easier. So I recommend doing Eldenhorn first, getting out of the way, so that way you're spending less time on your run whenever you fail, if you fail on this map. So I'll go over one spot in Bulwark that gave me a little bit of trouble, and then we'll move on to ST. So this part right here is the part that really only gave me trouble on my Bulwark run, just because there was a lot of nerves involved. You can't really see too well, so I'm just gonna show y'all what I did for it. Not the cleanest strat, but it worked for me. So I'm gonna show you that real quick. Again, the main reason I'm not a big fan of trying to grab onto every hold for it is because it's just a sketchy place. There's a lot of holds that are just directly above you, and a high chance that you get your hands pecked here. But again, once you get used to the mode and you get a little lucky, as they say sometimes, then it's not too bad. Grab on here and then pretty much past it. So it's not too bad, just trying to play normally. As long as you keep a nice cool head, you should be good, unless you do that. But there's a lot of recovery spots here that you can recover from, which I did in my run. I fell quite far before I recovered, thankfully. So the way that I did it is basically just try and go from this hold here, right there, and going all the way up, and skipping to these rocks up here. So I would just, again, this isn't a for sure 100% work all the time strat. This is just what I would suggest trying to do. Find your own route at this spot that works for you, and so that way, whenever you get to run a Bulwark, you might be thinking, Bulwark's so easy. It's actually easier than Ymir. What's this guy talking about? But you get the Bulwark, you get some nerves on you, anything's possible. So I would recommend just practicing that part. Maybe I'd do a couple times. Do a couple Bulwark runs with Avian Chaos, just so you're comfy doing all the different spots that may give you trouble in a run. So that's it for Bulwark. Now on to everyone's favorite mountain, Solemn Tempest. So I will not be going through the entirety of Solemn Tempest on every single spot, and how I play Avian Chaos, because that would make this video like 2 hours long. And I would watch my Avian Chaos video, and all the sections that I don't cover, just look over in my ST video and copy kind of what I do in that, if you want my strategies for it. I'm only going over the parts in this video because I feel like they are a bit scary for players, even if they've seen the video, and just kind of giving a what's going through my mind as I'm doing these jumps, or this next jump I actually don't do in the run. I go for a riskier strat in the video, so I'm addressing it here as well. So the jump is that spot right over there, that hold where you go on, you do that big old jump to the ice block directly above you. So I'll show you the route that I've been doing now, which makes it a lot less scary, especially with the birds. So whenever you're going up, you kind of do your usual way, nothing too fancy. Once you get to this part right here, I'll stay on top of here, You want to grab onto this hold right here. This is your friend for this part. You're going to want to go straight off of this hold up to there, and then wall jump directly onto this ice block. Now, most important part, if you feel like you're going to fall, do not keep on attempting and going this way. Because, as most of you know, there's a little barrier right there. If you go past the barrier, if you land on it, you will die. You will end your run right there, which is very spooky. So once you're going for it, if you feel like you're going to bail out, fall back, you'll slide off this part right here, hit the ice wall here, you'll be fine. You can do this attempt over and over and over. As long as you do that, this part is not bad because you have infinite tries on it. If you keep on going or you overshoot it, your run is over. Be very careful about that. So, as I was saying, go for this hold right here. And let's see if I can get a first try. Yep. First try. So once you're up here, then it goes back to the usual route. Skip up past here. And then skip all the way up there. And then keep on going. So, that's that part. Not too bad once you practice it enough, like every part in this game, except for Eldenhorn. We don't talk about Eldenhorn. And I'll get to the next spot on a pretty big run killer for ST. It wasn't able to, I think it killed 2 of my runs once I got here. Yeah, 1 or 2. So I'll get to that part next. So for Icicle Hell, I wasn't originally planning on going over this area and how best to conquer it. For the beginning part, there's a new strat that I found a little bit ago that I haven't utilized in a run yet that involves, once you get to this part right here, you can actually go on top of this part and stand here on this little edge. Once you're on this edge, back up to a crampon jump, and you can get onto this spot right here. It completely avoids having to go on all the little icicles underneath you. It is pretty hard to do. It took quite a bit of attempts to get me set up on it semi-consistently. It's hard to do in a run because you're trying to go as fast as possible and line up on that jump properly. But once you're up here, you can keep on jumping on top of all these areas up here, and you skip a good portion of Icicle Hell. And again, the birds can't hit you, which is very nice. So now we'll get back to the part of where I'm trying to go, which is the real run killer. Alright, so the part is right up ahead, so you're getting your momentum right here. Now, as you can see, sometimes one of the seagulls gets stuck on the other side. Just how the geometry is. You can see his little wing flapping right there. You'll still have one bird aggroed onto you. Once that other bird hits you, go as fast as possible. And just keep using momentum to make it to this icicle. Once you're here, you're safe. The real kind of sketch part is if you're going and the bird gets stuck there, but then it gets unstuck as you're trying to go, you will get hit. Sometimes he doesn't get stuck, and sometimes you just have to play it normally. You're at here, you just have to rely on letting go and grabbing back on, and then doing it normally like that. And again, spending as little time with your picks in the ice so the birds don't aggro you. You just have to kind of improvise on the fly, depending on what one of the seagulls does. Again, you can get pecked as soon as you grab onto it if you are getting aggroed as you're leaving the ice. It's a very scary spot. Another reason why it's so scary is because if you're here, let's say you get pecked right here while you're trying to grab, oh no, there's no recovery. You can't make it to here, you're right next to it, and you're dead. Runs over. This spot's scary. So, I would spend a good amount of time here just practicing a couple different times that happen. Like I think the bird's stuck behind the ice right now. It might both be stuck. Yeah, but he's coming around, which can happen. It sounds like the other one's stuck. So we'll wait for that other one to aggro us. He's aggroed, he's done. And now we go as fast as our little hands can go. And that can happen also, where you miss that ice and you die, so. And that happened to me one run as well, where I missed it by just a millimeter, and that's all it takes. So, practice this part a bunch. There's only... I'll go over a couple parts up top, as well as the one part that originally was the hardest part in Avian Chaos. I think it made the mode unfair. I think everything else is technically fair, except for Eldenhorn. Eldenhorn just seems sketch in general to me. I'm not a big fan of it. But recently there was a skip discovered for it, which makes Avian Chaos so much less stressful. So, I'll get to that in just a minute once I get there. So once you're near the top of the map, if you're following my video where I'm about to slide down, here I'll show you the height real quick. Right before 6K, you're going to be at this part right here. And the way that I do it in my video is I go down here, stand on this little edge, crampon off the side wall, crampon again off this wall, then go directly down here. Now, what I do is I aim for this little hideaway right here. Again, you avoid all the holds down here. You avoid skeletons, you avoid little handholds you have to swap between your pickaxes and your hands with, and you avoid the birds. This part is I made this route specifically for Avian Chaos because it avoids as many holds as possible. Once you're in this little alcove right here, you're gonna scoot your way down to right here, and you want to stand on top of this little spot right here. Once you're here, you want to line up with this wall as much as possible, go back and crampon at the same time, and then make your way to this little spot right here, this little stand hold. Again, practice it a couple times. It looks really sketchy and dangerous. It's not once you get used to it. Once you're here, you can just keep on going directly to here. Grab onto this ice for a second. Now you're up here. What's the bird gonna do? None. You can't peck none. I place a routing flag right here. So, this part right here was the run killer. This was what I thought made Avian Chaos go from a good challenge to pretty stupid challenge. Just because it's near the end of the run, you're like 40 minutes deep, and it comes to a part which you can really get screwed over really easily. The old route which I did in my Avian Chaos video was going to here, going onto this icicle, dodging the birds. I have one aggroed on me now. Once you get to here, making a mad dash, jumping up here, hoping you don't get hit. If you get hit there, then you fall and die. That's run over. Very, very, very annoying. I probably practiced this part maybe just this part, like this little strip right here, probably 2 hours of just constant practice trying to get as quick as I could, the best holds I could. I'm not going to go over that because there's a skip around it that was recently found, so I'll go over that instead. So, once you get to the rock before this one right here, go back to where we were at, right around here. And again, for height reference, this is a little under 6K. You're going to want to hit onto this ice right here. Now, it's a little risky. Much less risky than going the normal route and trying to do what I did. So, the goal is to get up and around. You may think Gringus, up and around. Andos purposely patched this part so you couldn't do that. How are you going to get up and around? Momentum. So, it may look impossible, but what you're going to want to do is you got to get up past this part up here. So get as much momentum, keep on going back down, grab at the edge, keep on going back up. And you make it up. Now, once you're up here, hug onto this little corner right around here. And then we're going to have to find this tiny lip of a corner up here. It's very hard to find. It is up here. It may take me a minute to find. But once you're standing still on it, you want to back up slightly, crampon jump. Make your way up on top. Once you're up here, you're home free. Keep on cramponing. And you skip past that entire part down there. You can keep on going up here. And you've skipped the hardest part in Avian Chaos. Then the route will continue as normal as what was shown in my video for Avian Chaos, and you're back on the mountain. So, that's Avian Chaos. Again, these were all the maps that I found gave me the most difficulty in general with Avian Chaos. Again, the beginner maps. I'll look through the books and say which ones I think you practice a little bit. Evergreen's End, the Twins. Not that this map isn't bad at all. Just get a route set and you'll be good. I personally, I saved Hangman's Leap, the couple beginning maps, and which one? And the Great Crevice. I saved that for after ST. The reason for this is it's basically impossible to die on these maps because they're either so short or they have all water underneath them. The Great Crevice, and there's like 2 spots you can die on. Very hard to die on. So I say Great Crevice and Hangman's Leap. And the reason for this is so that way I can get faster into Eldenhorn and ST, the maps I'm most likely going to die on. So I recommend not doing every single fundamental. I would do the 15, minimum 15 to unlock the next book, and then get straight into the next book. And then for bouldering, I would do 5 of bouldering, get straight into Eldenhorn on the 3rd book, and keep on going, and then clean up the maps after ST. Might not be as climactic because you won't end the run at ST, but it'll save you, a couple minutes worth of time, just because if you beat all these and then die on ST, you unnecessarily beat those maps. So, again, that's what I did for it. Land's End, died a couple times here just because I would hit weird angles, so I'd practice here a little bit, maybe do that one of the first maps that you did. Alder Grotto, it's scary whenever you can't really see the birds that well, so you have to rely on your ears a lot, so get this one out the way quicker. Again, this book, leading Spire is the only issue, can't really die on any of the other ones. For this one, do Eldenhorn first. I did Eldenhorn. I would do Great Gowl and Haelga. Again, this one is probably the most variable on the order you want to do, because once you do 3 of the advanced books, then you get the 10-point crampons, so there may be some maps you prefer to have the 10-point crampons more on, whether that be Ymir's. If you want to do the Haelga skip, where I showed you where you go all the way around, I would get 10-point crampons for that. Walker's Peak might be nicer with 10-point crampons, so again, lots of variability with that. But in the end, it's all worth it for the golden wings, so that's all I got for you. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, list them in the comments below. I don't think I'll make another updated guide if new strategies are found, or, I know Zero has some tricks up his sleeves with like Ymir's Shadow and stuff like that for some skips. So again, this is just my guide on what I did, the strategies I use, the strategies I prefer, and hopefully it'll help. I hope it helps you with Eldenhorn and ST primarily. Those are the 2 big run killers. Once you get both those maps down, Avian Chaos, I bet people could do it, I'm like 50% of the time. I think if you get really good, you could do it 50% of the time, unless you have some real bad bird snipes or something like that. So, that's it. That's all I got for you. So, good luck. Happy achievement hunting. Good luck.